educators have begun receiving their new Ron DeSantis approved K through 12 curriculum, and it's pretty frightening in how absolutely un-American it is and how much it actually pushes Christian nationalism. So let's get into the details. Now, this is according to WFLA, who obtained the materials provided by the Florida Department of Education to their state educators from a June 29th training period. Now, the new methods will apparently focus on how to teach about the Constitution, religious liberty, and what the materials call the colonial seeds of American independence. Fun. Now, the trainings are apparently there to prepare teachers for the 2023-2024 school year, with the goal to create what they consider to be a desirable citizen. So what kind of desirable citizen? What is a desirable citizen according to Florida? Well, in one of the slides, the Florida Department of Education shows what it calls the qualities of an upright and desirable citizen. So, okay, let's get to it. All right. Qualities of an upright and desirable citizen: has a thorough knowledge of America's founding principles and documents and equipped to apply this knowledge. Okay. All right, cool. Demonstrates civic virtue and self-government that promotes the success of the United States constitutional republic. Respects the military, elected officials, civic leaders, public servants, and all those who have defended the blessings of liberty. Respect the military. Yes. Understands and defends the United States Constitution, Bill of Rights, and other amendments in their historical context. Recognizes how political ideologies such as communism and totalitarianism conflict with the principles of freedom and democracy, and appreciates the price paid by previous generations to secure the blessings of liberty, and why it is the responsibility of current and future generations to preserve it. So, okay, that's what they consider to be an upright citizen, an upright good citizen, okay? Desirable. Now, how do they plan to get someone to have these qualities? Well, you're not going to be surprised to find out that religion, specifically Christianity, has a lot to do with it. In fact, there was an entire presentation devoted on how to inject religion into government. In fact, the presentation includes a section titled Misconception. The founders desired strict separation of church and state, and the founders only wanted to protect freedom of worship. That's what they titled a misconception. Wait, that is not a misconception. So the United States is not a Christian nation. We're a secular nation, okay? In fact, the first clause in the Bill of Rights states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Now, there's more. Thomas Jefferson, in the 1802 letter to the Danbury Baptist Association, declared that when the American people adopted the Establishment Clause, they built a wall of separation between the church and state. Now, both Jefferson and James Madison felt that state support for a particular religion, or for any religion, was improper, and argued that compelling citizens to support through taxation, a faith that they did not follow, violated their natural right to religious liberty. So what do you think would happen if the state established a religion? You would end up likely having to either subsidize it in some way through your tax money, or again, be forced to follow the tenets of said religion. Both things are obviously against the First Amendment, the freedom of religion. But there's more. The materials also go into details about how the modern understanding of the separation of church and state contained a misconception that the Supreme Court of the United States was the final authority on the U.S. Constitution. You see, of course, when the Supreme Court interpreted the meaning, they interpreted everything wrong. And they actually point out some specific cases. But before we get to that, they talked about the correct interpretation. The only type of interpretation explicitly described in the presentation on the highest court in its role was originalism. a form of judicial review focused on tying modern law to the plain meaning of the Constitution. So basically, that's what Scalia and Thomas believe in. Not that the Constitution is a living document that changes with the times. Because, for example, we no longer wear powdered wigs and use muskets and have indoor plumbing. We have those things, okay? Things have changed. We no longer enslave people that are black. So as the country changes, you should have a documented constitution that can be, allowed to change with it. But they said, no, in Florida, only originalism must be taught because our way is the correct way, even though we've completely misconstrued what the founders have actually believed. Now, let me go to those court cases, right? Everson v. Board of Education back in 1947, Engel v. Vitale in 1962, and American Legion v. American Humanist Association. That was in 2019. Now, each of those cases, cited by the Florida Department of Education in their training materials, had different effects for federal and state laws. For example, Everson v. Board of Education basically expanded limits on government to make rules regarding certain religion. And after Everson, the Establishment Clause was expanded to state laws so that the state cannot establish a religion. Engel v. Vitale, in that decision, SCOTUS ruled that public schools, as well as state officials, were blocked when it came to writing or encouraging official prayers for public schools, as it would equal a violation of the First Amendment. Now, remember that they're against those. The whole point of Scalia's originalist interpretation is, no, we're against those other interpretations that we think that religion should be prominent in government, prominent in school, prominent all across the country. So, and look, in 2019, by the way, the American Legion decision also ruled that longstanding monuments, even those with a religious theme, may still be maintained on public and government lands, saying that over time, additional meanings for the items come from the community, adding to the purpose of or significance of what were originally religious items, something that, of course, they are in favor of keeping. Okay, so now the presentation on religious liberty ends with the following notes. Historical facts and truths must be presented in the classroom. Facts must be grounded in the primary source documentation, and founders expected religion to be promoted because they believed it was essential to civic virtue. So look, right there, that last part, religion to be promoted, that's not at all true. Again, many of the founding fathers, Washington, Jefferson, Franklin, Madison, and Monroe, actually practiced what they call deism. Now, deism is a philosophical belief in human reason as a reliable means of solving social and political problems. Deists believe in a supreme being who created the universe to operate solely by natural laws, and then after creation, disappeared, gone. Now, this belief in reason over dogma helped guide the founders towards a system of government that respected faiths like Christianity, while purposely isolating both from encroaching on one another. No government in your religion, no religion in your government. Okay? As to not dilute the overall purpose and objectives of either. But here you have the right wing that's going against that. That wants something different, that want to put, religion back into government and to have government take over religion. Or I'm sorry, religion take over government, and for the government to spread religion, to enforce religious dogma. So what they're doing in order to, achieve this aim is by indoctrinating young people, by putting false ideological materials into public school. Now they go on. While providing instruction on how to teach about what they call virtuous citizenship, okay, which is not specifically defined in in the presentation, the Florida educational materials show a flowchart set related to preserving liberty and the principles of citizens in the U.S. Here's that. Dangers of a lack of virtue. Okay. Anchored in principles. Virtuous citizen equals preserved liberty. A distorted understanding of principles equals a misguided citizen, which diminishes liberty. Authority figures gain power over citizens. Oh no. And then finally, if you're not rooted in principles, you are a licentious citizen, which leads to lost liberty and citizens that become subject to tyranny. So now, by the way, licentious, being licentious means being promiscuous or to behave in a way that is not considered sexually moral. Sexually, wait, the people that are bringing up, the groomers in the schools, the teachers are all grooming the children to be gay, and they're bringing all this sexuality in the classroom. They're talking about being licentious. Or again, to behave in a way that is not considered sexually moral, according to the Oxford Learner's Dictionary. So they're saying that tyranny comes from
sexual anarchy. That's
what they believe. That's what they're teaching in Florida now. Again, you want to talk about grooming. Why is this in the school textbook? Why is this in a school, teaching materials? Oh, hey, you better teach the kids not to have sex we don't like. And you got to teach them that, because if they do the sex that we don't like, they invite tyranny. What? What is that? What does that have to do with anything? What? Look, what this is the right wing trying to groom children into being members of the religious right. That's what they're doing. Instead of allowing people to make choices to, get into a faith that, because I have no problem with people having a religion. I have no problem with people having faith. Okay. And believing in a religion. Totally fine with that. I respect your right. I don't believe in it, but I respect your right to believe in your own religion. And if you come to it later in life, because as a lot do, and say, no, I'm going to convert, I'm going to become a Christian, I'm going to be whatever, right? Whatever religion, I'm going to be Buddhist or Muslim, whatever. Okay, great. Good for you. You've made that decision later in life after reflection and thought. Perfect. Good for you. I hope it works out. But this is trying to drill these principles into children. That's what they're doing. And again, the same thing, this is the same thing that they think that the left is doing, but again, not with religion, but with, I guess, secularism or whatever, right? But here's the thing. Every accusation from them, from the far right, is a confession. They want to groom children into their belief systems because they know they can't win over adults. Yeah, sure, they have very old people who are hooked on conservative media. They have those, and basically the biggest tool that they have is their media apparatus, which is gigantic. But they haven't won over regular people. In fact, look, the majority of the country is actually religious, but they believe in the separation of church and state. 2/3 of U.S. adults, 67%, say the Constitution was written by humans and reflects their vision and not necessarily God's vision. And a similar share, which is about 69%, say that the government should never declare any official religion. Now, what's scary, of course, is that you have a third of this country that thinks, oh no, Iran, they got it right. I mean, except with the whole Muslim thing. We would like to do what they do, except with Christianity. Oh, or, Afghanistan, yeah, they're doing it right, except with the whole Muslim thing, right? No, we would like to have Christianity, fundamentalist Christianity. Again, they are fundamentalist theocracies. And by the way, the ones who support that the most are evangelical Protestants And that brings me to the big question here. Say the right wing wins. Right-wingers, those of you who are hate watching me right now, and I know you are. Say you guys won on religious liberty, okay? Say you made this country, the United States, into a Christian nation. You have established a religion. Okay, well, the question is, which religion? Well, Christianity, of course. Well, which denomination of Christianity? Which one will be on top? Is it going to be the Baptists? Is it going to be the Methodists? The Lutherans? What about the Catholics? Are the Catholics going to be on top? What about the Protestants? Which one is going to be on top? Which one is going to rule? Okay, this is like the ring. Okay, in Lord of the Rings. What one ring to rule them all, right? Well, which ring? Or is it more like Highlander? You know, there can only be one. There can only be one that rules. Now, here's the thing. Be careful what you wish for. When you have a secular government, then that means that there's room for everyone, since everyone is treated equally and lives under the same rules. But once you have one religion that's on top, that's when things devolve. Look at Iraq, okay? The Shias and the Sunnis, they're not exactly friendly with each other. They're both Muslims, but they both tend to hate each other. And that leads to violence over very minuscule differences. And you know what? That happens because they don't have a separation between church and state, where they have these, religious minorities that are not, it's not just that they're not protected, that they're also vilified by the state themselves and often used as scapegoats. When you don't have a separation of church and state, you end up getting a fertile ground for religious violence. And this is while oppressing everyone else, not to mention, people of other religions. Because there are people who have no religion, by the way. And that's not exactly what freedom's about. So again, with Republicans that are teaching this stuff in Florida, what they're really doing is not trying to create these upstanding citizens. No, what they're doing is they're grooming the next generation into becoming like them, into tools, essentially. The tools of the religious right, we're going to vote reliably conservative, which will continue, of course, to enrich corporations and corporate donors, but also help the churches and the religious groups take over and get control. And when that happens, that's going to eliminate all the freedom that this country is supposed to stand for. That's why it's important to point this out, and most importantly, to stop it, to try to keep this country secular